Alright, it is time for a book haul part 2, and I found my card. I didn't know where it was last time I did this. Hey everyone, it is Shannon, and I'm excited to be here today and to share with you the remaining books that I got at my recent adventure down to Bookends, which is the permanent library bookstore at the Toronto Public Library down at the Reference Library. There also is one at the Civic Centre, but the last time I checked it was under renovation, closed for renovation. I'll leave the link below for Bookends. They have information there on the 2 locations and the hours and all that good stuff if you are in Toronto. Apparently there also is a sale in, like a clearance sale in March, so I'm going to keep my eye out for that. Although I bought so many books, I probably don't need to go back for a while, especially since I bought so many books, I actually had to split this haul into 2 parts. So I have a separate part where I have my mysteries and thriller, which I will link up above, and I got this specifically because I'm participating in Thriller-a-thon as well as March Mystery Madness, and I wanted to have a nice selection of books to choose from because it's not genres that I normally read from, and I also have very few on my shelves of mysteries and thrillers, so there's a whole video for that, and this is everything else. And I actually went in really with the intention of replenishing my shelves for some of the categories I have, because there's some, like science fiction, I don't have tons of books, and plays, poetry as in collection is starting to thin down, and also horror, but there actually was not tons of horror. There was some, but not tons. So that was the goal. We'll see how successful I was at that goal. And the first one that I picked up, actually literally the first one that I chose was The Fated Sun, Shon'Jir by C.J. Cherryn. Not totally sure how to pronounce that author's name. And I was going for science fiction because it talks about their planet, a takeover of their planet. So I was thinking science fiction, but looking at this cover and samurai and blood brothers and power castes, warrior race. It's probably fantasy, right? And I actually wrote on my list, not fantasy. I have lots of fantasy. No dearth of fantasy. Anyway, so, and I also goofed on this one because it's the second in the trilogy. So, shaky start, but still looks awesome. And also, the library does have the whole series on Overdrive. So when I get to wanting to read this, I can read the first book on Overdrive and then jump to this physical copy. And I've been really enjoying, like, the older covers and smaller books recently. It's been really appealing to me. So you will see that might be a trend here. Next up, I did find one horror book, and that is The Omen. The Omen by David Seltzer. And this one is a bit of a strange one in the fact that it is a novelization, but the author also wrote the screenplay, and they came out around the same time. So I don't know from the minimal research I did, it sounds like that they're pretty close, but there might be some changes. I haven't watched The Omen in a long time. It has pictures from the film. Look at that. Pictures from the film. But I have seen it, so I'll be curious to read this. And as I said, I don't have a lot of horror fiction, so one more now. And I went on earlier this week, it was very close timing to Valentine's Day, so I decided to pick up Valentine's Night by Penny Jordan, this awesome looking romance. It is a winner's circle, and it is a Harlequin. It's got like the old school Harlequin there, and yeah, so a Valentine she couldn't forget. And I think this is a sort of stranded, snowed in. Yeah, I like snowed in stories, so I thought I would pick that up. I was going to read it for the Romance Readers Readathon, but I have didn't get to it. So, but I will have it. So that's fun. They don't have a huge romance section. They just sort of have like one shelf available for romances. But I think the Harlequins are like 25 cents. Most paperbacks I think are $3 for $1, but I think the Harlequins are 25 cents. Don't quote me on that. I will leave the information below with all the price with them for the store. But the prices are amazing. Most stuff is $1. Most is $1. Some stuff's a little more, some stuff is a little less. So honestly, it's a really good price. And then the next one, this one I was so happy to find. This was for me the gem. Do you ever do that when you go shopping? Like when you get like, you know, you're looking, you're browsing, and then you find like the one, and you're like, if I don't find anything else, I have this book. And for me, this time, that book was Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. I've been kind of collecting Arthurian stories, mostly to try and find the ones that I really like, and I haven't been that successful at that. I keep on trying. Keep on trying. But I really wanted this one because there was at my sort of local place, local used bookstore, they had a copy, like an edition of this different edition, and it had like the original on one side and a translation on the other side, and it was a big heavy hardback, and it looked like it would have illustrations, but it didn't have illustrations, and it was more expensive than I wanted to pay, and I let it go, and I was like, oh, I wanted it, and I let it go. But this is perfect because it's tiny, because it's a Penguin Classics, and I really want to read the story, and it was $1. And apparently something happened to this page, so someone printed it in. Okay, so that's a bit on the strange side of things. Or maybe, oh! Oh my gosh, look at that. And that's the original. And then the translation. That's so weird. And then there's someone put all these photocopies. Someone must have been doing a project of stuff in the back. This is one of the joys of getting used books, is like you never know. And there's more. There's more in the back. Someone taped them in. Look at that. Wow, what a treasure. Anyway, so I'm really looking forward to reading this one. I think this one won't even get wrapped up. I think I'm just gonna read it. Just gonna read it. So yay, Sir Gawain. And next up is one that I thought might be on my Those Books project, or my Those Books exploration, but it is not. Oh well. And that is The Red Pony by John Steinbeck. I have read a few John Steinbeck, but nothing semi-recently. And so this one is tiny, it was in good condition, and my sister Susie often recommends him to me, especially in terms of being very succinct and economic with his words, but still very powerful. And I do wonder if The Red Pony has a connection to Longmire, because there is a bar in the show called The Red Pony. And I wonder if there's a connection there. I do not know. I do not know. Oh, Of Mice and Men is on the back. I read that actually last year. So I have read some Steinbeck recently. I forgot. So yeah, there we go. Let me know what you thought of that. It's not on Those Books list, but I'm still going to read it, especially because it's like not that long. Next up, I picked a Canadian title, and that is The Stone Angel by Margaret Laurence. I read The Diviners by her a couple of years ago and absolutely adored it. It floored me. It was very powerful, as a lot of Canadian books are, and this one I think will be the same. She is actually one author whom I would like to read all of her works. I would just like to read them all, because I was that impressed. I think Agnes of God is the one that I'm probably least likely to be interested in. But I'll still read it. It doesn't have a list of her works. Huh. Oh, interesting. So this is actually from this edition is from 1989, but the book was written in 64. So I don't remember when The Diviners was. I think it was around the same time. Next up, I did find... Oh, no, it's going in different order. I'm changing the order up here, folks. Another one that I thought might be on Those Books list, but was not, is A Separate Piece by John Knowles. This one actually, I think it came on my radar because I was going to do this project of reading all the books that are mentioned in The Perks of Being a Wallflower. I didn't end up doing that. I thought I would last year, but I didn't. But this is in that. This one I don't actually know anything about. So I will see what it is about. No idea. A Separate Piece. Let me know your thoughts if you've read that one. One that is actually very, very popular. Oh, this edition is not great. But anyway, I didn't have a copy, and it's definitely on Those Books. This one's one of those ones that's on all the lists. It's on all the lists. And that is Lord of the Flies by William Golding. This is not really a Shannon book. But I'm curious about it. I hope it's not like scarring. And but it is one that comes up in conversation. It comes up in media a lot. The idea of behind it, what it's trying to say. So I think there's definitely value in checking it out. So I'm going to do that at some point. Next up, another one that is on the Those Books list, and that is Diary of a Nobody by George and Weedon Grossmith. Grossmith? Grossmith? Man, I feel like I'm mispronouncing that one. That feels like Grossvestner. It's Grosvenor. Or Queen's Quay instead of Queen's Key. Anyway, I don't know. Let me know if I'm pronouncing it wrong. This one, actually, I'm really happy to get because it is on the Those Books list, but I did not realize how seriously someone seriously annotated the crap out of this. Like, highlighters, there's lots of actual writing on it, but I just noticed the outside, but like, it is very annotated. So I'm not sure, but it's also, I think there's some illustrations in this one. Yeah, so I'm not quite sure what to do about this. I do have, because they're very, the highlighting's one thing I can get, I don't have a problem with that. Yeah, there's lots of illustrations. But the writing in it is very directed. Like very specific commentary, thoughts, and those kinds of things. So I imagine they read it for a class. So I don't want to be affected by that when I read this, so I'm not quite sure what to do. This one is actually public domain, the text, so I could read it on my Kindle and then browse the illustrations or something. I'm not quite sure what to do. So always flip through, because it was easy, like within seconds I noticed the extensive annotations and highlighting, like it's just everywhere. So that was a bit of a whoops, but you know, because the outside, it's in really good condition, but oh well. And I did then find some poetry, which I'm really glad at, because that is one of the spaces, one of the areas that I don't have tons of. And the first I got some WB, is it Yeats? Yeats selective poetry. A whole bunch of stuff. Actually, a fair amount. Like it's a small book, but it's like 200 pages, and for poetry, that's a fair amount. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it has different sections. Yeah, maybe from different collections. Don't think I've read any. Yeats? I should have asked someone that before doing this. Ah. And then I got 3 works from the same publisher, and they are Night Eater by Patricia Young, Something Small to Carry Home by Isa Milman, and Hold the Note by Domenico Capilongo. And these are all by Quattro Books, which is a Canadian publisher. So and they're all about the same size. And I just flipped through them and just looked at them a little bit to say, does that look interesting? And I said yes. They actually have a fair amount of poetry. They have a fair amount of, in terms of plays, they have lots of Shakespeare. But I couldn't find any other plays that I was looking for. But yeah, I thought these looked interesting. As is painting, so is poetry, from Mark Chagall. Yeah, no, that's definitely something I would read. So yeah, so there's 3 new collections of poetry, or new to me collections of poetry. And yeah, so I am really looking forward to this. I thought it was a pretty successful book haul overall. In these books, I think were about, if I add them all up, I think this section was about $11 for all of these books. And then my other book haul was $5. So I got like 26 books for $16, which is a steal. So did I do that math right? I don't know. So those are the books that I got. I'm so tired. Let me know if you've read any. Let me know if you think there's anything I should start with. I definitely think The Red Pony and Sir Gawain are very, very likely to get read. Some of these are probably pretty soon will actually wrap up and put on my shelves, especially the poetry, so that I have more works in those numbers. But I'll probably wait until my next unwrapping, because I've already got numbers for my next unwrapping, which is really exciting. So that will be in March. So there you go. Those are the books. All the information about Bookends will be down below. I hope you have an awesome day, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for watching.